In insurance, you can have what we call direct insurance, which is you insure your house or your car or your factory, whatever it may be. And then we have reinsurance, so that the insurance companies, because they don't want to take the whole of the risk themselves, they will reinsure it to a reinsurer who then takes on other risks. And again, it's spreading the risk. And so a lot of the individuals took out what they called stop-loss policies, the idea being that if you were then called to pay a lot of money, you just passed it on to the reinsurer and they would spread it around as well. The trouble was that nobody had looked at it too carefully. And so we got into what was known as a spiral.
A bit like 2008 spreading of risk around the world by the banking system, for example.
A little bit like that, but it was much worse because you see, I reinsure with you, you reinsure with him, he reinsure with him, and they went all the way around the room until, without my knowing it, it came back to me again. And so it was pretty nasty. And at that time, and I'm sorry, it's a rather long explanation, but it's quite a long story, the names were the providers of the capital. And so these names put up all the backing themselves. And it just became impossible for a group of individuals, shall we say, once wealthy individuals, became very difficult for them to survive. And so they, I think it's working.
If it's not working, we can just pick that up and use it.
And so there was a long discussion about bringing in corporate capital. In other words, having large companies to come in instead of individuals. This was very much resisted, but eventually became clear that this was the only way to do it. And so corporate capital was introduced. And, you know, if an individual has to write out a cheque for £5 or £10 million, dollars, whatever it may be, it may wipe them out. If a company has a loss of 20 or 30 million pounds in a year, they're not very happy about it, but they can usually trade through it. And so the intense opposition to the introduction of corporate capital was there, but eventually it became essential. To the extent that today, about 85% of our assets are from corporate capital, and about 14 or 15% from individuals. But you notice I'm not calling them names anymore. They like to call themselves names. I don't have any problem with that. But the system has changed. Because certainly when I joined Lloyd's 9 years ago, they had developed a process under which individual names who had written this insurance with unlimited personal liability, and you want to remember that phrase because it really means what it says. Unlimited personal liability means just that. So it means your liability is unlimited. It was then agreed that they could form what we call name co's, which were like a little company, which effectively was doing the same as they'd been doing previously, but as a limited liability company. So if you were writing business to the tune of £1 million, you'd subscribe that million, I'm simplifying it now, but you'd subscribe that £1 million as capital, and that would back up the business you wrote. In the worst case, you lost your investment. Then that's no different from any other business where, you know, you invest it, and if it does well, fine. If it doesn't, then you lose out.